Photo people, I'm Allie.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're the Photo Sisters.
Today we're going to talk to you about if photography is something you should go to college for. We have a lot of questions for this one.
And this is a controversial topic. I'm sorry, we're probably not gonna, I don't know, just probably feel like some controversy is gonna happen here because, long story short, I don't think it's necessary to go to college for photography. However, I feel like going to college is really important because you learn a lot of things that you expand your knowledge, you gain different horizons, you study random subjects that somehow make your life better and more interesting.
You gain student loans if you're me, and you pay $400 and some odd a month for your student loans, and you actually end up just staying home with your kids and not using your degree.
Or you can have 2 degrees like myself and not even utilize them, but I feel like going to college is important because you learn.
I think going to college is an asset. It's a life milestone that's really important to do. You make yourself more marketable, whether it's as a photographer or maybe photography is just a side job and you're actually going to use your degree. If you've not attended college and maybe you're in high school looking at photography, we say go to college, whether you choose to major in photography or like more like an arts and humanities type program. That's really up to you. Mm-hmm. On the technological end of photography, it would be really nice to have maybe like a business or marketing degree so you could kind of understand that end of the business much easier than like the arts side of the business. But it's, in all honesty, it's a personal preference to whether you want to go to school and become an awesome photographer that could pay for your student loans. I'm really stuck on the student loan, if you don't know.
She's a little bitter about it.
I have
Understandable.
I have over $60,000 in college debt, and I was a teacher for all of 2.5 years before I decided to stay at home and raise my kids.
Which is very important too. So I went to college, as I mentioned earlier. I have 2 college degrees, and they're in English and sociology.
Which obviously not at all with photography.
Obviously nothing at all with photography. Honestly, so let's be honest here. When I started college, I went in as a teaching major. I really wanted to be
following in my footsteps.
Except I wanted nothing to do with little kids. I wanted to be a high school English teacher or language arts, whatever they call it. So I was like totally set on doing that, and kind of, in my first year of college, I was interested in photography. I had a DSLR camera. I took photos, but I had no intention of starting a business because I honestly didn't even realize how many freelance photographers there were out there. I just thought maybe if you did pictures, you would work at a studio or that sort of thing. I never really thought about starting my own business. But then in the summer between my freshman and sophomore years in college, I had this huge epiphany about you can start your own business as a photographer. And that's kind of when I started to take it more seriously and got more interested in looking at different photographers' blogs and websites that were out there, because I had no clue that they existed until then.
And this was kind of at the breaking point for like photojournalistic type photos that Lizzie was doing.
Yeah, and like that's kind of, I think, maybe a few years after photographers started having blogs, where they shared information and that sort of thing. And that's kind of like when I started to become really obsessed with photography and started to take it more seriously. Because like I had my camera for like a year until I realized that there was a manual mode, and even then it took me like forever to figure out how to use it. And I had kit lenses and whatever. I thought I was cool at the time. But so I started my business right around the start of my sophomore year in college, and at first I only did portraits. I wanted to wait until I got more experienced and understood more and could build more equipment before I started taking on weddings. That's a whole different story. But so anyways, around my 2nd to 3rd year in college, my business started to get really busy. And right about that time, I was entering the student teaching aspect of my the student teaching portion of my teaching degree. And that's really when I noticed that I couldn't really be as flexible anymore with having enough time for my business and school. So I had to make a really hard decision of changing my major from teaching to just English, and I added a second degree in sociology because it worked, because I already had so many credits. So that's why I ended up doing that. But I feel like my degrees in English and sociology have inadvertently really helped what I have learned in my business, because I have an English degree, I feel like I can communicate so much easier and faster through email. You know,
because she can speak English.
I can. I know grammar like the back of my hand. No, I'm just kidding. But and then I feel like too, like, you know, if you understand sociology and if you learn these random topics about it, I feel like I can relate to people and kind of understand them and kind of have a different perspective. And I feel like, you know, the different areas that we studied also helps my perspective with photography, because you start to think about areas of life that you might not have really noticed before, I guess you could say.
No.
And if I were to do it all over again, if I would have started college knowing that I wanted to start a photography business, I definitely would have majored in probably business or marketing or accounting or something along those lines, because photography is something I think that you can teach yourself. Most of what I learned was self-taught. I did take half a semester, keyword half, a semester of a digital photography class, but I felt like it was kind of just reiterations of what I had already learned just from reading books and looking at online tutorials and photography blogs and that sort of thing. And I feel like the most amount that I grew was from trial and error practice, you know, and doing photo shoots with my family and friends and finding photographers that I really liked, and I could actually talk to them about their specific shooting style because I felt like that was really relevant into what I wanted to go into. So I kind of just found some local photographers that I really liked. I met up with them, I asked them questions. I was able to kind of see how they ran their business and did things. So I know obviously if you want to go to school for photography, you will learn a lot of technical things about photography, and I don't think it would hurt, but I really don't think it's necessary. And if you are going to college, I would probably say to really focus on something that's more on the business end, because I think that that's something that is a lot more structured and a lot more difficult to learn outside in the real world. So I would probably say to do something more on the business end, and you could really learn how to boost your business by knowing how to do those things. And I feel like photography is just so subjective that it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be taught. It's almost like
you're born.
Like a talent, yeah, like
You're
a born
born to
talent. Like that Lady Gaga song. I don't know.
I was born this way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions? Let us know. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.